Okay, so Liz, Zoom has changed the options once again, and I cannot see people who are entering. So just let me know when we've got an adequate number, or we think most people are through the door, and we'll get rolling.
It's slowing down a little, Jen, if you want to get started. I'm sure people will be coming in, but you could.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
All right, welcome everybody. You are at ANJAC's Punching Out the Plastic, celebrating 1-year anniversary of the Plastic Pollution Reduction Act. May the 4th be with you today. We are super excited to be talking about this 1 year later. And let's go to the next slide, Deanie. I forgot I wasn't in control. I don't have the the steering wheel here. Before we begin, as with all of ANJAC's webinars, this session will be recorded and it will be sent out afterwards to everyone who registered for this webinar. It will also be posted on our YouTube channel at ANJAC Views, so you can check it out there. Please put any questions you have in the Q&A and we'll address them as soon as possible. If we don't get to your question or you would like to talk to us or another staff member about something else, please go ahead and email us at info@anjac.org. Trust me when I tell you that that email address is more highly monitored than I monitor my own email. So go ahead and send us your inquiries at info@anjac.org and the appropriate staff member will get back to you. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jennifer Coffey, and I have the great pleasure of serving as ANJAC's Executive Director. And this evening, we also have with us Deanie Checco, who is our everything plastics guru. And we have Heather Miara. Did I say that right, Heather? Okay, Heather Miara, who's an environmental specialist with Union County, the Bureau of Recycling and Planning, and Saraville's environmental commissioner. So we're super excited to have her share all of her expertise. And we also have Elizabeth Ritter, ANJAC's deputy director, who is helping us with tech and making sure everything goes smoothly tonight. So next slide, Deanie, please. ANJAC's mission, as always, is to serve you, our environmental commissioners, with what your priorities are for your community. We have updated our mission statement. Our board of directors, our board of trustees updated it last fall to reflect the work that we have been doing and our commitment to ensuring that we are protecting natural resources and promoting equitable and healthy communities, and doing it in a way by which we are engaging in diverse and inclusive practices through all of our work, through the staff that we hire, through the leadership we provide, and the resource materials that we develop for you. Because our #1 priority is being a resource for you, our environmental commissions, we have more than 300 active environmental commissions throughout New Jersey, from Warren and Bergen County and Essex, all the way down to Atlantic and Cape May and Cumberland counties. We want to hear from you, and we want to know what you need from us. And by filling out this survey, and we're going to post that if we can, if that's possible, in the Q&A or in the chat tonight, we will then be able to better respond to your needs by writing resource articles in the ANJAC report, by tailoring the technical assistance that we provide, and by tailoring the types of webinars that we offer. So we encourage you, it'll take you about 3 minutes to fill out the survey. We encourage you to click on that and tell us what it is that you need from us, and we will do our very best to make that happen. There's the link again. If you've got a phone handy, you can go ahead and snap a picture of that QR code. That'll take you right to the website. If you just pull up your camera app and scan it over, the website should come right up. I know many of us are incapable of being on one device at a time. So if you're like me, you've got your smartphone right here as well. Let's go to the next slide, Deanie. So here we are tonight. If you haven't been to NewJerseyNoPlastics.org, go ahead and visit that website. That is the website that we are working very hard to update with resources for residents, businesses, municipalities, to provide you with all the information you need about this particular act, this Plastic Pollution Reduction Act, as well as additional plastic reduction efforts that we're involved in. We know that this law is built on your hard work. So we want to continue that partnership. There were more than 150 municipal ordinances that were passed to make this law happen. It was momentum at the grassroots level like I have never seen. And we are just thrilled to be partnered with all of the environmental commissions that helped make those local laws happen, that encourage their mayors to adopt the ordinances. And you are really the ones that are responsible for making sure the legislature could not ignore this issue. So kudos to you. We've got another resolution that I think we're going to announce tonight for additional action, because we're working really hard to make sure that the recycling bin in your kitchen or your garage becomes more than a waste product, more than a problem, and becomes a resource. And so that's what we're working on at the legal level with the legislature. You told us from one of the surveys we did, you wanted us to fix recycling. So we're working on it, and we need you as a partner. So go to this website, stay in touch with us. And with that said, I want to close out before I hand it over to Deanie with some of my experiences that I've had in the first year of the Plastic Pollution Reduction Act. So as we all know, this law bans plastic bags. It bans polystyrene food containers, otherwise known as styrofoam. And it requires that you are asked if you want a straw before you're given one. So some of the things that I've encountered at local stores over the past year are, I'm a small business, so I'm allowed to use plastic bags. I've been told that if it's a plastic bag that's made out of recycled content and can be recycled, then it's allowed. I've been told that at Thanksgiving, of course you have to put your turkey in a plastic bag. There's a Thanksgiving turkey exemption, right? I've been told that we have little old ladies that shop here. Now, there's a picture of my mom. She would object to being called a little old lady. But in that same sentence, they said, we have little old ladies that shop here. They're grandmas. They need a bag. I've also been told when I went to pick up food, now I'm a foodie and I cook a lot, but sometimes, you gotta get takeout. We got some great restaurants in New Jersey. And I've been told there's a hot food exemption. And I said, there's a what? There's a hot food exemption in the law. I said, oh, really? I didn't know about that. So when somebody tells me something like this, and all of these exemptions are false, there's no Thanksgiving turkey exemption. There's no grandma exemption. There's no, I'm a small business, so I get to use plastic. If you're a small business, you get to use paper. There's no hot food exemption. There's no cold food exemption. There's no frozen food exemption. These are all things that people have made up or they've been told, and they are rumors, and they are all absolutely false. So what I try to do, because I'm not trying to be a jerk, when I'm handed a plastic bag, I say, I thought we couldn't use plastic bags in New Jersey anymore. And I try to understand what's happening here rather than going at somebody. And they say, oh no, there's a hot food exemption, there's grandma exemption, there's a turkey exemption. And I say, I don't think that's how the law is written. I'm pretty sure that's not right. And in some cases they say, you know what, let me ask my manager, because I'm not sure either. And I have had some really productive conversations with store managers, and then introduce myself, let them know who I am, and tell them that's not exactly correct. They really do need to get off of the plastic bags. And some people have been incredibly receptive. When I met with no, this is the way it is, or it's a teenager and they're just doing their job, I'm not trying to get them in trouble. I will then take another approach, and Deanie's going to talk a little bit about the reporting mechanisms and the enforcement mechanisms and calling the county. So I will engage that way. But we know overall that the law has been a wild success, and we're going to talk about that a little bit today. We're thrilled that just today, the Plastic Advisory Committee's report on year one and how's it going was released. Like any big law and any big systems change, we need to observe how it's been going and we need to make improvements. So we're here to listen to you, send us emails, tell us how it's going. We've done some surveys and you've told us. Don't be surprised when you read the Plastic Advisory Council's report that that stuff made it into the report, because Ms. Checo is on the Plastic Advisory Council, so we've got a direct line there. But we are thrilled with the way that this law is being implemented. We think it's a big success. We're really proud of it. We're really proud of you, and we're going to keep working to make it better. So with that, I want to turn it over to Deanie and then to Heather. And I'm going to hang out in the background to answer any questions and assist as I can. So thanks, Deanie.
Thanks, Jen. You stole some of my thunder, but it's okay.
Sorry about that.
It's totally okay. Wait, yes, yes, there are some exemptions, as Jen was sharing, but overall, the law is working really well. So this statistics come from the New Jersey Food Council. 5.5 billion plastic bags, 110 million paper bags have been eliminated from New Jersey's waste stream. I also know that many of you environmental commissioners volunteer with Clean Ocean Action's beach sweeps that are done twice a year. And for the first time since 2007, the plastics bags were not included in Clean Ocean Action's 2022 Dirty Dozen list, which is huge. So a lot to celebrate there. Jen talked about the Plastics Advisory Council. And what this council, this is part of the law that this council was created. It's 16 members. And the goal is to submit written reports to evaluate the implementation and the effectiveness of the law, to make recommendations to reduce the use of plastics and the amount of plastic entering the environment and increase the rate of plastics recycling. So the first year report was just released today. And I'm just so honored to be one of the members and thrilled to be sharing it with other environmental advocates. Cindy Zip from Clean Ocean Action, she's our chair. Gary Sondermeyer from Bayshore Recycling is our vice chair. Melissa Miles from New Jersey Environmental Justice Alliance, Amanda Nishawat from Hudson County Improvement Authority, John Weber from Surfrider, Judith Thank from Beyond Plastics, and with so much support from business partners as well as GP and the Department of Health. So it's been a remarkable experience for the past year, and we're just thrilled that this report was released. But I got to tell you, when you get a chance to read the report, you will say, this sounds really familiar. Because back in July 2022, ANJAC with our other partners, the Coalition for Delaware River Watershed, New Jersey League of Conservation Voters, and New Jersey Audubon, we did a survey. We asked you folks, what are you interested in? What do you want to learn? What do you want to see? How else can we support reducing plastic pollution? And these are the ideas you came up with. And this is what's indicated in the report, focusing on enforcement, creating a bottle deposit program, improving municipal recycling programs, developing a market for reuse, refill, and having education in schools and increasing water hydration systems in schools, and dealing with the issue of grocery deliveries and the buildup of reusable bags. And packaging, that's a huge thing that a lot of you wanted us to focus on, and that's what we're doing. So I got to tell you, this past year, you folks were not quiet in getting out and sharing about the law and just explaining it, and really appreciate that. And the youth have been tremendous. So one of our major partners is Beyond Plastics, and Judith Thank, who's the executive director there and the founder. She's also a phenomenal educator. And I think at least once or twice a year, she runs a program, Plastics 101, and which, if any folks are interested, I encourage you to go on to Beyond Plastics and sign up for her next class. And we had a young woman, Shireen Such, she's the young woman on the left in this photo. So Shireen, who is a sophomore at West Windsor High School, took the program and got inspired with plastics. So she started the New Jersey Youth Beyond Plastics. And there's an email here. So if you or anybody else that's interested in joining her efforts to educate about plastics, I strongly encourage it. So Shireen and I have had wonderful conversations. She's so knowledgeable and passionate, and she and her friend did a display and talked about what else can be done at a local West Windsor farmers market. So youth power. Here's another example of youth power. Aaron Diamond, he won this statewide PSA contest that built awareness of the new plastics law and the importance of not littering. I'm not sure if I can run this, but I'm going to try. It's only a minute long, and I'm just thrilled with this PSA they put together.
Scientists predict that by 2050, there will be the same amount of plastic in our oceans as there are fish. This is why New Jersey has created a single-use plastics law. Simple actions can go a long way to help, like using reusable bags when shopping, avoiding plastic straws, no thank you, and using reusable containers. Make sure to put your trash in its proper place, so it doesn't end up here on the side of the road, or here in a tree, or here at the storm drain, because next time it rains, it will end up here in our oceans and other waterways. And that's why there's a new law about single-use plastics, and why we all need to do our part to reduce single use.
I hope you guys enjoyed that. Whoops. Oh boy, here we go. I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did, and getting education out there through these videos and creating awareness has been really powerful. So East Brunswick, this upper elementary school, I will not even attempt to pronounce the name of this school. I will totally butcher it, but they did a poster contest. And this young woman, Zoe Kwan, won first place. And I also cannot draw anything. And I just think this is a wonderful representation. So East Brunswick, as a municipality, has also been doing some really interesting things. And I'm just so impressed of how they expanded the traditional 3 R's, and they added on refuse. So refuse products that are destined for trash after one use, repair items in your home instead of discarding them, and rot. So this is for composting. I'm sorry, my bars here, I can't read it. Rot, return nutrients to the soil by composting. So they took the 3 R's and expanded it, and the mayor and council and the DPW and the Environmental Commission and the Sustainability Task Force of East Brunswick are all on board. And they're doing a lot of education with these new caveats. And I think that's fantastic. So as far as just in general, some of the other things that are happening, I talked about the, there's been an issue about the proliferation of reusable bags for home delivery. And there's opportunities, and I would love for you guys to do some education around this if you already haven't done it, to donate those bags when they're clean to your local food bank and food pantry. And this, there was a big write-up about it, but honestly, this only affects about 2% of orders. So it's a very, very small amount. And there's, like I said, there's ways to manage this. There's New Jersey Clean Communities is also doing a pilot program on collecting reusable bags and sanitizing those through a specific process, and then dropping those off at the food pantry or a local food bank. So more to come, but in the meantime, if you have extras, do drop it off. If you do get grocery deliveries, make sure under special request instructions, you request boxes or no bags. And as Jen said, sometimes it gets to a point where you might have to do a violation report. So if it's for bags and styrofoam, you want to connect with your county Environmental Health Act. And if it's for straws, it's the Department of Health. And that's how you report a violation if it comes to that point. But education and outreach first, definitely. And I believe Liz is going to drop those into the chat box for you guys. Now, here comes the next bill that we would love all your support on. It's the extended producer responsibility, which is not a very fancy name. And you're probably wondering, what does it mean? Well, at the end of the day, none of us want what's inside a package, right? We just want the stuff inside. We don't want the packaging. So it's really, all it really is a packaging reduction bill. And there's many different components to have a very strong packaging reduction bill, such as reducing toxins in the packaging, having environmental standards, including possibly a bottle bill, providing financial relief to taxpayers and consumers, and having strong oversight and accountability. So, and having transparency in the process. So that's part of a very strong piece of packaging reduction legislation. So there's a couple of states, Maine, Oregon, Colorado, and California, that already have packaging legislation, and we want one here in New Jersey. So ANJAC has a model resolution of support, and we are going to include that in the follow-up of this webinar as a resource, and we'll also have it on njnoplastics.org. So we would like to encourage you to take a look. This is a model, and go ahead and share that with your township council or borough council. And please, once it's signed, send it off to Governor Phil Murphy, Senator Bob Smith, Senate Energy Environment Assembly, Jim Kennedy, Assembly Environment and Solid Waste, and of course, a copy to us at ANJAC. And we'd appreciate it. The other thing that you can do is something called Skip the Stuff. So similar to not wanting the packaging, I'm sure many of you do not want 1,000 ketchup packages when you do takeaway, or another plastic utensil. It was interesting because for lunch today, I went to my local Thai restaurant, and on the phone, when I placed the order for takeaway, I said, please don't include any utensils. And when I got there, I checked the bag, and of course there were utensils. So I asked the waitress to take them away. And then I just asked, I'm like, so how do you feel about these utensils? And she's like, oh, it's terrible. I wish we didn't have them because it would save us a lot of money. I'm like, exactly. So businesses, they're really striped for cash, and they don't want to give extra inventory. So there's a fantastic Skip the Stuff ordinance. Maplewood, I believe Maplewood's the first municipality in the state to have a Skip the Stuff ordinance. And I'd love it if any other folks are interested as well. So there's a toolkit on njnoplastics.org to check out, and please look at Maplewood's ordinance as well. I think we can really do a grassroots efforts on that. And we are very excited that today we are launching a plastics campaign on our Instagram. So at ANJAC Posts on Instagram. If you don't follow us yet, start following us. And so the way this works is that you show us your best plastic-free life. You take a photo of yourself, and then photo of a reusable bottle or reusable container, anything really that's plastic-free. And then you tag us at ANJAC Posts. And then what we will do is the contest starts today, and it's just a fun thing. And then starting next Friday, what we'll do is we'll pick a winner. And that individual will get a $50 gift card to a local zero waste business. And we're going to run this over the course of 4 weeks. So we really hope you join us on this contest. And follow us on Instagram. So thank you so much. And thank you also for the clean community coordinators and the recycling coordinators that are joining us today. You do get a credit for that. And I'm going to take a couple of questions if there are any waiting for me, and then I will kick it off to Heather Miara to talk a little bit more about clean communities. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and see what the questions are. Oops. Jen, you're on mute.
Here, I have one from Mimi Deanie. She's asking, is there a way to recycle plastic reusable bags? She has some that are made of some kind of woven plastic.
That's a really good question, and that is definitely something that the Plastic Advisory Council has been dealing with as far as end of life. I understand that ShopRite, if it's from ShopRite directly, they will take those bags back. There's a pilot program being worked on with potentially TerraCycle, but it's just in a pilot phase right now. So hold on to those right now.
Thank you. Sorry, I had a little tech difficulty coming back on video and voice. We've got a question about coffee cans and their plastic tops. And this person says they can use the same lid for every can. How can they demand grocery stores offer some without plastic? Do you have any ideas about coffee?
I'm not sure I understand the question. A can without.
Every ground coffee. So I'm gonna think like Folgers, Maxwell House, you know, the tin can with the plastic lid.
Oh, okay. I see. It's been a while since I bought that. It depends on the type of plastic. It's possible that the plastic that's on top of the can is a 1 or a 2. So that's the chasing hour signal. If it's a 1 or 2, those are recyclable.
Yeah. I would also say that looking for bulk ground coffee or bulk
That's a good point.
beans, and then often where you can buy bulk beans, you can grind them at that place. So if you don't have a grinder at home and you just want to grind them on a weekly or every other week basis, that's an option too.
Sure.
Deanie, do you want to talk a little bit about paper straws? There's a question about, is there any consideration for a paper straw requirement?
Sure.
And we certainly talked about that when the legislation was being adopted. So if you want to share a little about that.
Thank you for bringing that up. And the straw provision of the law has been the most challenging. So appreciate you to asking that question. There's a lot of confusion. What happens? How do a lot of waiters might just drop a straw on the table or put a straw in the drink automatically, and that's really not the law. They can't drop a straw on the table. The customer has to ask. So what's available? Paper straws and metal straws. Right now, the Department of Health, those are the two that are considered acceptable.
I also have some silicone straws at home that I prefer if I am going to go get a nice coffee, or I usually make my own iced coffee. But the metal straws, I'm pretty clumsy and I end up knocking my teeth against them, and I don't like the way it feels. So I went to some silicone ones, and it's a little bit easier on myself when I'm being clumsy. There's another question. Is there any movement to banning plastic water bottles?
Yes, there is interest. And that is something that's being considered. So at least potentially in the parks. So there is a federal ban on plastic water bottles in parks, I believe, in national parks.
Yeah.
So there's potential, but the question mark there on that one.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The other thing we're trying to do, because I do think plastic water bottles will be available for a long time, for certain health reasons, for emergency reasons. But as Deanie was saying, we can shift away and we can make systems easier for people to not use them. Putting in hydration stations in parks. So one of the things that I've been talking to DEP about, and it reminds me, I need to finish my comments on the Green Acres rules, would be anytime they're doing any infrastructure projects. So they're going in and they're doing renovations or installing a bathroom, you're already dealing with plumbing. So put in a hydration station, put in a bottle refill station, or a water fountain or a bubbler or whatever you want to call it, but give access to having drinking water. And in some cases, we may need to post a schedule that says the last time this water was tested. So we have to have those conversations to make our society more open to bringing your reusable bottle. When you go to other countries, there are fountains all over Rome and other parts of Italy where every fountain is drinking water, and you can fill up your water bottle from any fountain. And so it's really much more accessible, and you see much fewer water bottles around.
Yeah. And yeah, to your point, Jen, continue education efforts that the tap water is safe. It's much safer than bottled water. In certain situations, obviously, if you have lead piping, it's not. But generally, quality of water from the tap, especially in New Jersey, is solid.
Yeah. We've got a lot of questions, so I'm just going to pick a few more, and then I want to make sure that we have time for Heather to present, and then we can always go back to some questions if we've got some more times.
Definitely.
Have some more time. Let's see. We've got. Can restaurants use styrofoam cups? I've seen a restaurant in town doing this.
No.
Okay. Any styrofoam or polystyrene for food is not allowed in New Jersey.
That's right.
So is there any interest in providing reusable bottles to public school students? That's an interesting question.
Well, I do know that public schools, a lot of times that the clubs, I know I did this for my kids when they were going through high school. Like my son was a wrestler, so I had reusable water bottles for sale, and the proceeds of that went to fund the wrestling team. So there's a lot of those sort of programs already available.
Yeah. Here's an interesting question. Is the legislature seriously considering bringing back plastic bags, as radio talk host mentioned?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
No.
I can tell you what talk show host that is and what channel it is, but I'm not going to lend them my credibility by saying their name.
No,
so they
no.
cannot take a clip of this and splash it in places.
Yeah.
No, it's ratings. Ratings is what that is. That's angry radio talk.
And big kudos to our champion, Senator Smith, who has been behind this bill and advocating out front, behind the scenes, everywhere. And he gets it, and he's really proud of the numbers of how many plastic bags have been eliminated from the waste stream and from our streets. So he gets it. He sees it.
I'm going to do 2 more questions, and then we're going to hop over to Heather, and then we can always come back to more Q&A. Can stores sell styrofoam plates for people to use on picnics or at home?
No.
All right, good to know. Thanks, Deanie. And one more I'll ask you, and then I'll definitely chime in. I find that people in the US tend to buy bottled water for home. So yeah, they do. And in some cases, there's definitely well-founded fear. Think about what happened in so many places where we talk about lead leaching into waterways. And when you consume elevated levels of lead, either as a woman who is then gestating a baby, or as a young child, as a baby or a young child, you can affect brain development. And there's no fixing that. There's no way, once your brain has been hampered from developing in a certain way because of a high presence of lead, that you can then fix that brain. So there are people who are certainly rightfully concerned. However, by and large, drinking water is safe in the United States. And quite frankly, New York and New Jersey have some of the best drinking water around. We also have the best bagels and the best pizza, and it's because of the water. So if you could pick up that water and bring it somewhere else, it would make a big difference. But the water is a key ingredient in making bagels and pizza. So we do need to do better education about how safe our drinking water is in the United States. That said, there are lots of people who are only going to buy bottled water because that's what they believe in. And that's something that we need to work very, very hard to get away from. A lot of people do drink their tap water. Here's the secret. I serve on the state, it's not a secret, I serve on the State Water Supply Advisory Council, but the secret is that your tap water has more testing regulations on it than bottled water.
Mhm.
So your tap water is tested more regularly than what you're buying off a shelf in a plastic water bottle wrapped in plastic. And so that's something to consider when you're moving forward. Now, if you have well water, it is incumbent upon you to test that well water on a regular basis. And we can provide advice if you're interested, if you contact us at info@anjac.org. Because there are some things you should test for every year, E. coli and fecal, the bacteria that can give you some pretty bad belly problems. And there are other things you should test on a longer span of time, particularly if you're in agricultural areas, arsenic and different pesticides, but they travel more slowly, so you don't need to test annually for them. But we can give you that information if you're interested. So
Great.
with that, Deanie, I'm going to turn it back over to you, and you can introduce Heather, and then I'll pop back in a little bit later.
That sounds great.
Awesome.
Heather, welcome. Please share your screen and thank you. I'm going to go off camera while you talk.
Okay. I'm beginning. Are we seeing it? Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much to ANJAC for having me and inviting me tonight to be a guest speaker. My name is Heather Mayera. I am on the Sayreville Environmental Commission, and I'm also an environmental specialist for Union County's Bureau of Recycling and Planning, where I get to work as a Clean Communities coordinators. And so I'm very happy to talk about the intersection between the two programs and how you can work together to achieve common goals of improving the environment and collecting and removing litter. So our Clean Communities program is amazing. It's a statewide program whose sole purpose is to keep our communities clean, free from litter, and actually graffiti. I feel like that doesn't get included as often, but graffiti is considered a form of litter. So that is also a part of the Clean Communities goal. But the whole purpose of the program is to prevent and remove litter from the environment to create clean communities. And it's statewide. So what is litter? Why is it a problem? It's solid waste out of place. There's lots of negative impacts from litter. For us people, humans, it takes away from the aesthetic beauty of our places. It can bring down civic pride and possibly even lower the value of homes in a neighborhood that has high amounts of litter, creates a negative public image. And then for our ecosystems, it can be harmful for our animal life, our plant life, marine life. It causes flooding when it gets stuck in our stormwater infrastructure. It can leach harmful chemicals, clog up waterways. So very harmful. And then of course, most types of litter take years and years, some over hundreds of years, or indefinite amounts of time to biodegrade. So if we don't remove the litter or prevent it from getting there, it will just stay there. So big problem. And Clean Communities has been around since 1986, and it basically placed a tax on 15 categories of litter producing products from manufacturers, distributors, and retailers. And annually that results in about $20 million plus to be distributed between the New Jersey Clean Communities Council, counties, the park system, and municipalities. So on this side, we have a little circle graph showing the breakdown. 80% of what's collected goes to municipalities. 1% goes to the park system. I'm sorry. Yeah, 1% goes to the park system. 10% goes to counties, and then the Clean Communities always gets $375,000 of that collected amount. So just briefly, these are the list of categories of the litter producing products that are taxed to then create this fund that goes out And it's just a bunch of different things, alcohol containers, motor vehicle tires, magazines, paper products, plastic products. So all of that gets taxed to then go into this fund that helps clean our communities. So how the program works is every county and municipality is supposed to designate a Clean Communities coordinator to help run the program and utilize those grant funds. I have a little asterisk because there are a few municipalities that do not participate in the program, and I believe it's just because the minimum number of households to participate is 200 according to the grant, but I'm not sure. That just was kind of what I figured from reading through the grant guidelines, but most municipalities are participating. And then there's guidelines to how every community, county can spend those grant funds. And then annually, the coordinator should submit an annual report to the Clean Communities Council saying how those funds were spent towards keeping their community clean. And it's supposed to always incorporate the elements of cleanup, enforcement, and education to work towards a litter-free environment. So for those Clean Communities grants, it is public knowledge, and it's dependent on a few things, which is basically the proportion of housing units in your municipality compared to the total housing units of the state, and the proportion of municipal road miles in your municipality compared to the road mileage of the state. So to look up how much grant funds, if you are interested in finding that out about your town, you could go to njclean.org, click on the coordinators tab, scroll down to grant funding, click that, and then the most recent posted grant funds are from 2022. You can click on that and it lists all the amounts awarded to the counties and municipalities. The grant funds really do vary by where you live based on the fact that larger municipalities are receiving more compared to smaller, but it seemed to vary from $4,000 all the way to over $400,000. So that's important to keep in mind that not every community is receiving the same amount. And then it is part of the program. The goal is to have that money spent within 18 months so that the money is being spent proactively to prevent litter and keep the community clean. So one of the requirements is that municipalities that receive less than $25,000 per year in grant funding should publicize one public cleanup per year, and municipalities receiving over $25,000 should be sponsoring and publicizing 2 cleanups on public lands each year. And then our county coordinators are there to support. They can have their own program. Like in Union County, we have 36 amazing parks. So we have an active program encouraging people to conduct litter cleanups on our parklands. But we're also there to support our municipalities in their programs as well. So just a little bit about cleanups. Cleanups are volunteer groups. It could be paid workers as well, but usually volunteer groups who spend a few hours picking up litter. I really love cleanups because you can get so much accomplished in such a short amount of time. And you can immediately see the impact that you made by the pile of trash that is before you once you start putting your bags together. Clean Communities coordinators have their grant money to purchase supplies like gloves, baggers, grabs, and safety vests. And then we can also offer mini grants to nonprofit groups who volunteer. So that's an option for how to spend our grant money. So cleanups can be all different shapes and sizes. We have individual cleanup volunteers who can go out and clean up individually, or we have huge groups who volunteer, and all cleanups are important and wonderful. So more on cleanups, the funding can be used towards a variety of different things to help prevent litter, which is really cool. So those items, they recently added dog waste stations and outdoor bottle filling stations are items that can be purchased with grant funds. You can also purchase trash and recycling containers for public spaces so that the litter has a place to go, so it doesn't end up on the ground. And funding can also be used towards the purchase of large equipment such as street sweepers. It is important to note that only 25% of an annual grant can be used towards large equipment purchases. And then you can also use funds to paint over graffiti or hire a muralist. So another way of preventing / removing graffiti litter. And this is very new, but a very exciting new initiative is that the Clean Communities program is going to be collecting data on the litter that we're finding out in the field. So this is going to be a statewide initiative. We want to see the types of litter that are being found in different areas of the state and different types of environments. So this new litter survey and data form was just created for groups to use during cleanup. So we're actually going to be trialing it this Sunday at this Green Brook cleanup that is in partnership with the Lower Raritan Watershed Partnership. And so we're going to be trialing that out. But this data is going to be used and collected to capture basically what's found all over New Jersey. And it's going to give us a better picture of what we're finding and what we're seeing statewide, and maybe can be used for more advocacy or to inform education in the future. And speaking of education, that's another one of our elements for the Clean Communities program. So we really want to be increasing everyone's knowledge about the harm of litter, as well as ways to decrease it, to encourage them to do so. So providing education to the public increases awareness that litter is a problem, but also that there are solutions. Education can come in the form as presentations, just like this. You can use grant funds to pay for outside vendors to do like assembly programs or shows that teach about litter and how to prevent it. You can also purchase litter-related books for schools and libraries, post signage to encourage people to pick up after themselves and keep their public spaces clean. And you can hand out giveaways of reusable items at events. I know one of my most popular items is a little reusable metal straw in a little carrying case. So you can always have your metal straw with you, and it's very popular, and it helps people remember that they don't have to use a single-use straw. So we can do things like that in the public event space and encourage others to stop using single-use, because those are our highly littered items. And New Jersey Clean Communities was a big part of the outreach for the Get Past Plastic law. So there's a bunch of resources that were created by New Jersey Clean Communities Council for all of us to share to help educate the public about the law and how we can go about following it. Also enabled us to use our grant funds to purchase these reusable items, especially the grocery bags, the reusable straws I just mentioned, and all kinds of outreach like signage and posters and flyers and all of that. So we can we're still working on that and hopefully continue that outreach. The last element is enforcement. So also Clean Communities coordinators are tasked with enforcing, and there's lots of ways that we can go about that. We can adopt stricter anti-littering ordinances or ordinances for more specific items that get commonly littered, like balloons or cigarette butts. And you can also use your ordinance to designate a specific enforcement agency and fines or penalties specific to your municipality. See how the county environmental health agencies are our statewide authority to enforce environmental regulations. In our parks, we have the park police, who should be enforcing anti-littering and anti-dumping regulations. And then of us are able, if we notice any illegal dumping anywhere or something like that, we can use the Warren DEP app. It's a free app on our phone, and then you can go on there and report an incident of illegal dumping. And then that would go straight to the DEP, who would alert the most local enforcement agency. And stormwater management. So 25% of our annual grant funds can be used towards stormwater management activities. So this can go in a lot of directions, basically in all three elements of education, cleanup, and enforcement. So we can be purchasing equipment like street sweepers, like I mentioned before, or paying for clean out of catchment basins to help with our stormwater management, and it's removing litter in the meantime. It can also include educating the public about stormwater pollution, that everything that goes in our storm drains will end up in our waterways, and then labeling our storm drains to say something like drains to local waterway. Quickly, New Jersey Clean Communities also includes the Adopt a Beach and Adopt a Highway programs, and these are statewide. So the Adopt a Beach program is also through the Clean Communities Council. Volunteer groups or individuals can adopt a portion of the beach at any time to do litter cleanups, and you are encouraged to reach out to www.njclean.org if you wanted to register to do that. And there's also the Adopt a Highway program in partnership with New Jersey Department of Transportation to encourage volunteers to help clean and maintain our state highways. When you do this program specifically, your group is agreeing to clean your segment 4 times a year for 2 years. There's a whole training workshop included in this, and of course, all of the supplies would be included, and you would also do that through the njclean.org website. Okay, so now to how environmental commissions can work with their clean communities coordinators to achieve all of the goals that they might set out to keep their community a little bit cleaner. So at the first step, and I think the most important, is just knowing your clean communities coordinator. So like I mentioned before, every municipality that receives a grant should have a clean communities coordinator. And every county has a clean communities coordinator, and all of our county coordinators, we know the municipal coordinators, as we are there to support them. So if you wanted to look up who your county coordinator was, you can look that up. There's a whole list on the njclean.org website. If you go to the coordinators tab and click on county coordinator contacts, in a lot of municipalities, the recycling coordinator might also be the clean communities coordinator. So if you know who that person is, you should ask them who their the clean communities coordinator is. Or if you have your liaison, your town council liaison in your environmental commission meetings, you can ask them. They should hopefully know who that person is, so you can get connected. And then also get familiar with the website. There's so much information on the Clean Communities website about what other towns are doing, what's possible to use the grant funds for. It's also good to read about what you can't use grant funds for, so that you know the limitations of what you can use that funding for. There's a whole best practices section on the website full of really great examples and resources. Again, you can look up how much money your municipality is awarded annually. And then you can also just learn about the goals of clean communities and see if how those align with your goals as an environmental commission. And then work together. There's so many goals that overlap: removing litter from public spaces or waterways, preventing illegal dumping, stormwater management, and MS4 permits. I know that's a huge topic with that update that recently came out. Just general education to the public about environmental issues, promoting stewardship, and just improving the cleanliness and fostering pride in your community. And you can share resources to help one another out. And environmental commissions, you have volunteers. Maybe you have people who have the time to be able to put in the effort to make these initiatives happen. Maybe you have outreach assistants, if you have social media outlets or something, or ways that you usually get information out to your community, that can be an asset. And then ideas. I think this is a really good one. You know your municipality. If you see something and you can connect it with one of these goals of the Clean Communities, bring that up to your coordinator and see if you can make something happen. And coordinators can provide the technical knowledge and expertise. They can provide event coordination, grant funds. They have supplies to do the cleanouts, and they can maybe provide handouts if you're doing events like the reusable straws, grocery bags, and information about preventing litter. And so here are some examples. My first one is for Sayreville. Have to shout out my town and our wonderful Clean Communities coordinator, Elise, who's here in her Clean Communities hoodie. So we had a wonderful Earth Day cleanup. It was a huge success. I believe it resulted in 79 bags of trash being collected from our local park, Kennedy Park, that has a nice big lake in the middle. It's enjoyed by a lot of our residents. So Elise, she was the one who put together this cleanup. Her and the green team planned the whole thing. She coordinated the trash pickup, provided the supplies, but she knew us as an environmental commission. She invited us so that we could share what we've been doing and connect with the public on our different initiatives, as well as participate in the cleanup. So we had a table there to specifically promote our community garden that we started last year. And then after the cleanup at Kennedy Park, we invited whoever was there to join in the community gardens opening, which followed right after. So great success and a wonderful partnership. And then another example where the Environmental Commission actually was the one who initiated the cleanup was in Summit. This is one of my municipalities in Union County. So they have an annual Earth Day cleanup that the Environmental Commission runs annually. They get the support of their Common Council, and they reach out to their Clean Communities coordinator, Michael Caputo, who works with the DPW to make sure that their collected trash will be picked up afterwards. They provide supplies. I also provided some supplies because some of the parks within Summit are Union County property. So I provided some of my supplies as well. I had a whopping 269 volunteers over 10 sites and collected almost a whole ton of litter. So it was a huge success. And I mentioned the annual reports. Michael Caputo can now put all of that in his annual report for the year. And that's a huge thing to celebrate for everyone involved. And then just some other ideas. The Environmental Commission can promote, if their municipality happens to have a mini grant program, they can promote that to encourage cleanups around town. The Environmental Commission and the coordinator can come together to identify a highly graffitied spot in town and create a contest to commission an artist to paint a mural in that location. So I kind of breezed past this, but murals are a really great way of not only covering up graffiti, but preventing it in the future, because I guess the theory is that artists respect artists. So graffiti artists will see, you know, this beautiful mural, and especially if it has like a lot of colors and a lot going on, there won't be a place for them to, you know, add in whatever they were hoping to paint. But also they would hopefully respect the artist that provided that mural and leave it alone. So they really are a great asset and beautiful. Environmental commissions and their coordinator can partner on a green fair to promote environmental stewardship, sustainable practices, and engaging residents in activities. All of these pictures that I included here are from New Providence, and Sustainable New Providence, I believe, is the group that organized their green fair. And it was just a wonderful day. It was on Earth Day, and they had all different sustainable initiatives there. Compost pickup for homes. They shouted out their tennis ball recycling program, which is super cool. They had crafts for children. that we're using sustainable practices. So a lot of really cool things to engage their residents. And they can also, coordinators can also enlist the assistance of the Environmental Commission to propose anti-littering ordinances or to assist with enforcement. So I mentioned the balloons and the cigarettes before. There are sample ordinances of those on the Clean Communities website under the I don't know, the page, the resource page. I'm blanking on what it's called right now, but it's there in that section with all of the ideas. So that's another way you can go. Also, hydration stations came up before with in conversation when Deanie and Jennifer were answering questions, and that's another thing that grant funds can be spent on. So if you have a park that has like athletic fields and they get littered often, maybe that's something you can advocate for if your town has grant funds available. So yeah, let's work together towards a cleaner, more beautiful community. And here's my email, and I will stop sharing my screen if we have any questions.
Thank you, Heather. That was great. We really appreciate you sharing all those stories from the action and communities. Ultimately, we hope to put the cleanups out of business, or at least not need to have so many of them. We're moving in the right direction. We heard that with Clean Ocean Action beach sweeps, they're not seeing nearly as many plastic bags. So that's hooray.
But can I jump in here, Jen? And I just love the fact that New Jersey Clean Communities is now doing this statewide litter metrics collection, because that's the other part that we realized the Plastic Advisory Council and other folks in New Jersey Clean Communities realized over this past year is just we just don't have enough data. We don't have consistent data, and we see how critical that is to make sure we have strong policy going forward. So I'm really thrilled about that. And I don't know about you, Jen, but I think there's a lot of people going to be getting off the phone tonight and looking for their closest clean community coordinator, because you gave so many fantastic ideas.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
So to that, we do have a couple questions, and Heather, we'll go to some that I think maybe you might be able to answer, but Deanie, chime in. So Clean Communities grants, when is the open call for applications? When can municipalities expect to see that?
So they don't have to apply for this grant. They automatically receive the funds if they're part of the program annually. And their coordinator would know when those are available.
Great. So they just need to ask around in their municipality. So ask the administrator or the clerk who the Clean Communities coordinator is, and kind of set that relationship up. Awesome.
Yeah, I would say that.
Yeah, and in line with that, there was a question about when will the funding for 2023 be released? Would you happen to know that?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I forget when it comes out.
I think it possibly after budget. I think
so
that sounds
the
about
deal
right.
is the state runs on a budget year from July 1st to June 30th. And so the fiscal year 2023 money may very likely already be out the door and may have been distributed in 2022, because fiscal year 23 started July 1st of 2022, if you can follow that crazy math. And we are now looking at, for deadline of June 30th, the fiscal year 2024 budget for the state of New Jersey. Not to be confused with the federal budget fiscal year or a calendar fiscal year, because those are both different. But New Jersey runs July 1st to June 30th, just to keep us on our toes.
And that sounds right based on when we have to submit our annual reports. So I think that's correct.
Great. There's a couple questions in here about cleanups using large plastic bags. So yes, we know that there are, used plastic bags to collect plastic or to collect other trash. There's questions about using anything other than plastic bags and or gloves. So I don't know if there are any thoughts on that.
Yeah, one of our cleanups that we have in Union County is our Rahway River cleanup, and they're kind of their own group, and they've been doing it for 25 years, and they encourage their volunteers to bring gallon buckets to
Mhm.
collect their littering as they go, to minimize the amount of trash bags at the end so that the buckets can be combined into bags. So you're not ending up with like a bunch of half empty bags. So I think that's a really good one. I don't know of any other solutions. I know that that was also a suggestion during the beach sweeps when I went as a volunteer. I know that's also plastic, but at least it's reusable plastic.
Yeah, I
one
do-
of the other
there are
things- oh,
some.
Sorry, Jeannie, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to share there's some cleanup groups nationally that use like canvas bags, but then they have access to an open dumpster so they can immediately dump things in as well. So yeah, it's challenging for sure, but I think we'll keep working on solutions, different solutions.
Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to share is that we're working on a comprehensive approach to reducing plastic pollution and really reducing plastic overall, because plastic is fossil fuel. And so we're supporting the fossil fuel industry. We're accelerating climate change by using single-use plastics. We're exacerbating environmental injustices because plastic is manufactured in areas with communities who are mostly low income, English as second language speaking, Black and brown. And the process of taking fossil fuels and converting it into a hard plastic is called cracking. And it releases toluene and benzene and all kinds of nasty carcinogens. And then what do you do with it afterwards? Do you burn it? Do you bury it? What do you do with it? And that's usually taken care of in low income, English as second language speaking, Black and brown communities. So it's an environmental justice issue, it's a climate change issue, it's an eyesore, it's a habitat issue. So one of the things that we're really proud to have been a part of is called the, what is it called, Deanie? The Plastic Recycling Act, or
Recycle content law.
Thank you. Deanie's got my words. The Recycle Content Law. That goes into effect in January of next year.
Mhm.
The Recycle Content Law is all about taking your recycling, as I said earlier, the bin that's in your kitchen, that's overflowing in my kitchen, the bin that's in your garage or wherever you keep your recycling, and taking that from being a waste product to being a resource and a commodity. So this is macroeconomics, it's macro environmental economics. And so how does it do that? Because it then says that trash can bags, contractor bags, those hard plastic takeout containers, and so many other things that are made of plastic that aren't going away anytime soon have to now be manufactured with a certain percentage of recycled content. And that percentage of recycled content is going to go up over time. And so New Jersey was, I believe, the first law in the United States to pass, or the first state in the United States to pass a law like this. And then several months later, California picked it up.
Mhm.
California is a behemoth when it comes to the economy and manufacturing. And they adopted a more aggressive compliance schedule than we have in New Jersey. And so what's going to happen is we're going to see a shift in manufacturing, and we're going to see all of those things, your Hefty, your Glad bags, your takeout containers, start to be made with recycled content. So yes, we're still going to use trash can bags. Yes, we're still going to use contractor bags, but we're going to get better at creating a closed loop system that's much more sustainable, that's not relying on virgin plastic and virgin fossil fuel, but relying on the glut of recycled content that we already have. Now we're going to have to get better at recycling and separating our recycling. So we're working on that part too. So it's a multi-part solution to deal with this behemoth of a problem that we have here. And I realized I said behemoth twice, so I want points for using that word because it's a good one.
Well, speaking of which, Jen, if I can jump in here for a question.
Yeah,
with
we've just got a
Heather.
couple minutes. I'm going to look for one more question, but
Okay.
you talk
All
and
right,
then
while I
just
do
one
that,
more.
so if the funding for the grants are already allocated by the town, would there be other funds or activities that we can solicit from the county clean community coordinator? Brian asks.
Good
And
question.
given to Jen's just last point, what about the recycling tonnage grants, Heather? Can that be also used by the towns? I believe so, right?
Yep. So there are different like guidelines for how those grants can be spent. So it's possible, like if you like the water filling stations, like those have been specifically identified as something that clean communities grants can be spent for, but I don't believe an REA or recycling grant would be able to be used for that. I would say it depends on the county that and their coordinator, but if you have an initiative that you're looking to do in your municipality and your coordinator says like, we don't have the grant funds to support it, but you bring that up to your county coordinator, that is entirely a possibility of something they might be able to help you with. And I think those are the partnerships that I think make a difference. So there's always asking and seeing what's possible. And yeah, it's definitely a possibility.
Definitely. No, I agree with you. And it's been my experience that not all towns, but many towns, they don't actually use up their Clean Communities money appropriately, it moves from year to year and there's a buildup. So there's a real opportunity for ECs to find out, where is this money being spent right now and how can we get access to it? And as Heather shared, that a portion of those funds can be used to pay back volunteer groups. So I think that's fantastic as well.
Yeah. And let me just speak about mini grant programs, because I would say it is a way that you can spend grant funds, but not every municipality or county has an active one. But that's maybe something an environmental commission can help with by writing that program, creating the workflow, and then proposing that to the coordinator and seeing if that can happen. That's just like a wonderful way of supporting the program and then expanding it, and expanding the possibilities and the encouragement to the public.
That's great. Thanks.
That's a great point. So Deanie, I'm wondering if you could give us 45 seconds on this next question, and then we'll share our closing slides.
Okay.
Because it is May the 4th and I've got an Empire Strikes Back to watch. So
No, I understand.
the question is, are we planning to help support a better bottle ban to accept deposits for bottles and cans? This attendee heard a report with Governor Murphy saying he would consider this, as did Senator Smith at a waste conference in March. So we need to tap into Lois because she is on it with the press.
I love it. Yes. Yes. If we had our way, yes, that's another, an ideal packaging reduction bill would have a bottle deposit component to it. So we are supportive if our legislators are supportive, and it sounds like you guys are too. So it's way to go. We're overdue in assessing that here in New Jersey. I also just want to, I think that took less than 45 seconds. So I did promise to answer another question live, and I just want to get to it, which is, I just want to clarify about the plastic straw provision. So the reason why plastic straws are upon request is to support folks with disabilities. And it's for folks with disabilities, the best straw is the one that's bendable and that's easier for them to use, just so you folks know why that's in there. And as far as alternatives to plastic straws, like I mentioned, paper and metal are appropriate. So if you have like a boba tea, and I know those are thicker, heavier straws, there's a place locally where I go for boba, and they actually sell larger, heavier metal reusable straws that you can just keep bringing back to that particular restaurant. So those are a couple of things. There's a lot more questions in here. Unfortunately, we didn't get to tonight. So feel free to hit us up at info@anjac.org with any more questions. And I see Liz just came online. So did you want to pop in, Liz, and share anything?
No, but we can circulate the unanswered questions and get back to you, because we have your contact information from there. So if you did not get a question answered, we'll work on that.
Yep, and there are lots of great ideas in the chat as well. So I think we've had some sharing of information too. So thank you everybody for being here. Deanie, we have some closing slides.
Yeah, we do. And I just want to say this, everybody has been so amazingly active in the Q&A and excited to be here. And we really appreciate that.
Yes, and so we know that most of you know how to keep in touch with us, but please If you're not following us on social media, go ahead and follow us. We're mostly using Facebook and Instagram these days. So go ahead and give us a follow there. We have lots of grant announcements when we get them. We share information about what other ECs are doing to give you ideas. We issue action alerts when we're trying to encourage the governor to move something along or the legislature. And your action absolutely positively helps. Sometimes I walk around the State House and they say, oh my gosh, will you call off your people? And I say, first of all, oh, it's so nice to have people that think like we do and are taking action to support a greener, healthier New Jersey. But the answer is, when are you going to take action? No, I'm not going to call off my people until you do what we're asking you to do. So you are heard and we appreciate you. All of our sessions are on youtube.com or YouTube at Anjac Views. And we also want to ask that if you enjoyed this evening's program, we are thrilled with that. We bring all of our programming to our members for free. Tonight, we brought this program to everybody for free because we really wanted to spread the knowledge. But we operate because we receive donations from generous people like you. So if you enjoyed today's program, we would ask that you please consider giving back at a level that's comfortable for you. And if you would like to receive member benefits, so our quarterly Anjac report, access to all of our trainings and education programs, you can receive that at a $50 or more annual donation. So thank you so much for considering Anjac and your giving. Thank you for everything that you do to create a better New Jersey. It's a fabulous state to live in, and it's just getting better. So it's because of the people that live here.
And
we're
a big
grateful
shout
for
out
you.
to Heather. Thank you, Heather.
Yes, thank you, Heather, for being here and all the work you do. Thank you for sharing examples with us tonight. And we look forward to continuing to work with you in the future. And with that, I'll say, may the 4th be with you.
Night.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Take care.